Number one question. Do you have a strong working knowledge of the Constitution of the United States?
I do. When I was mayor, I might not pay so much attention to our Constitution since my focus was on the city issues. But since I decided to run for U.S. Congress, I spent a lengthy time to study the Constitution. So we have 7 articles, 27 amendments. So I read each one of them many times. You know, the first 1 to 10 is Bill of Rights. So I have an idea is when I get to Congress, what I want to do is propose the constitutional amendment for 5 things. Number 1 is commerce laws. The other is equal protection, and also executive orders. Most importantly, I want term limits and also balanced budget amendment. So.
Okay.
Do you know how many articles are in the Constitution?
7.
No, he answered
7 articles and 27 amendments.
Okay.
That's on top.
Thanks.
Okay, yeah. Please stick to the questions, specific questions.
Mr. Chow,
Yes, Barbara.
how will you know if you violate your oath of office? And do you think, well, how will you know if you violate your oath of office?
How do I know?
How will you know?
How will I know I violate my oath?
If you violate your oath of office because you were required. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Scratch that question. Please. Let me start over. Okay. Okay. All right.
All right.
Second
start
question.
over.
Starting over.
Okay.
Yes. How do you interpret the 9th and the 10th Amendments?
Now, let's go to the 10th. 10th basically is states' rights issue. And I always want to clarify what issues belong to states' rights. We do not want the federal government go over states' rights, such as education, and a lot of issues.
And the 9th Amendment?
I can't remember, but I do have my Constitution in my
No.
pocket.
Sorry.
Don't use
All
any.
right. All right.
Okay. All right. That's part of question 2 for the
All right.
scoring panel.
This was going to be 2. That's number 3. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You want to ask me?
That's the same thing. Go ahead and you should ask.
I'll let Andy. I've already done that.
Okay, question number 3, Joe.
Okay.
Whose powers are limited by the 10th Amendment?
Whose power? So the federal government. So we want to make sure federal government don't go over states' rights.
Thank you.
All right, Joe, number 4. Can you think of any ways to improve enforcement of the 10th Amendment?
Certainly, we need to make sure we have amendment of the Constitution to clearly stated what the federal government need to do. So do not, like, for example, we do not want the Department of Education, we do not want the Department of Energy, we do not want the Department of Commerce, we do not want EPA, and regulate a lot of things to prohibit our business growth.
Okay, question number 5. Currently, are there any laws, bills, statutes, ordinances, resolutions that conflict with each other to dilute our freedoms, and how?
So, in the beginning of the Article 1, we talk about, the government need to provide general welfare. And also in the Article 1 and the Section 8, and we repeat part of those and talk about the government should provide 18 enumerated powers, including the general welfare. So, but in the meantime, in many times they abuse the power. So that's why we find the conflicts of that.
Okay. And let's see, the question was, currently are there any laws, bills, statutes, ordinances, resolutions that conflict with each other to dilute our freedoms, and how?
You mean current bills?
In diluting, it's like you're taking a Coca-Cola and you're adding water.
I understand the words. Just trying to figure out, which thing you specifically want me to say is we do not want the government get so much involved in the things, and then we do not want them to do, especially go over states' rights. But however, I try to recall some of those bills you are talking about, and then which have the conflicts about. So
Okay, is that your final?
yeah.
Okay.
All right, Joe, according to the Constitution, which branch of government has the sole power to declare war?
Should be legislative branch. Should be the Congress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, John, what are your thoughts on judicial activism and how would you stop or help that?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
What are your thoughts on judicial activism?
Judicial activism. Judicial activism. It's a good question. We have three different branches. One is legislative, one is executive branch, and also judicial branch. So off and on, a lot of those judges were directly appointed and by the president, and then confirmed by the Congress. Instead of all being appointed, so the other way is to be directly elected by the people. So I am more for the direct election. So I think the judges should be able to be directly elected to voice the people's voice. Does that satisfy your answer? You are talking about especially Supreme Court justice. It always appointed by the president and then confirmed by both Senate and the House. And I understand it takes tremendous knowledge, but for most others were directly elected. So, and then the federal judges were appointed. So I personally believe a lot of those positions should be directly elected by the people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to, it's already answered the next question, so I'm going to skip one there.
Okay, so now we're now moving into
So question number 8 will be, what is your position regarding tax breaks in government stimulus spending? This one here is going to answer it.
He didn't answer that?
No,
In his opening remarks, he did.
go ahead and ask it.
Yeah, go ahead and ask.
your position regarding term limits for Congress?
So I'm for term limits. I believe we should have term limits. So when you get into the office, you bring the solution and the fresh ideas with passion. Then when you get out, you still have that. You know, instead of people stay there for 20, 30 years, they just run out of everything and they become so corrupted with the interest groups. I think it has to be changed. I'm really for the amendment of term limits.
Let's do question number 9. Mr. Chow, what is your position regarding tax breaks and government stimulus spending?
I do not like federal government give money to selected groups like Solyndra. It was so wrong. You know, all those. I understand you're trying to promote the renewable energy, but it's not the government position to give away money to selected groups. And then when they give away the stimulus package, they give to whoever voted for them or give them a contribution at the time before they get elected. So it was so wrong. So government should totally stay out of that.
Question 10. What is your position regarding soft law enacted through executive orders?
I believe the original written in the Constitution for the executive order is actually, if you really read it, this should be the bill passed by the Congress. Then the president have the power to execute it. You know what I mean? So then he would tell his cabinet to execute it. You know, give order to his cabinet members to execute it, but not use his executive power, abuse it to tell what we should do. So since President Obama in office, he already issued more than 1,000 executive orders. That's the reason I said we need to amend our Constitution.
Thank you.
May I ask a follow-on? May I ask a follow-on on this?
Yeah, we're gonna number that, number 11, I guess.
Well, it can be part of 10.
Okay, we'll leave it part 10.
Regarding executive orders, who do they apply to? And who don't they apply to?
They should apply to executive order supposedly is given to the president, and the president should apply to his staff, his employees, his cabinet members, not directly to us as people. You know, that's my definition. You know, so if I read this correctly, I'm not a lawyer, but if I read the Constitution clearly, it should be giving the president the power to carry out the order, the bill passed, approved by both houses, then to the cabinet and then the staff, employees to carry out. This order is given to them, not to the people like you and me.
Thank you.
Number 11, Joe.
Yes.
Do you believe in federal affirmative action policies? Why or why not?
If I understand affirmation policy is basically leaning toward the colored people, race. And personally, I think, you know, all the race should be equal. Doesn't matter if you are white, black, or Asian. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, number 12. What is the role of federal government in education?
Federal government should stay out of education. I always believe education should be as local as possible. At the maximum level is a states' rights issue. And education begins from family. You remember when I was a little kid, my mom spent a lot of time with me. My dad spent a lot of time at work and making money for the family. My mom is working woman too, and you know, she would help us to study. So I always believe education begins from home and then expand to local community. If parents understand how important the education is, then there will be no bad kids. So I would say it's a local and a state rights issue. Federal government should be out of that so we can save 2% of the federal spending.
Joe, we're moving into the next block of questions, which is going to be called fiscal responsibility. The question I'm about to ask you is it okay that our country is no longer using the gold standard?
It's not okay. So we have to keep a AAA bond rating. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, our congressman has to do a very prudent effort to have those financial discipline. I remember when I was mayor, you know, for the first time in 2006, we obtained AAA bond rating, and our property tax rate is one of the lowest in Dallas County, next to Highland Park, University Park, and Sunnyvale, and while maintaining 40% of rainy day funds, which most cities they don't. So we make sure I will bring those financial discipline to Congress. And that's all the elected officials need to do. Yeah.
But why do you think that we're no longer using the gold standard in our monetary?
Because of you know, a lot of Congress, people in Congress, especially Republican congressmen, over the years, they start to getting more liberal. And then they co-opt with Democrats, become more liberal. And they work together, and then just like the debt ceiling issues, they all vote for it. Most of them voted for it. It was so wrong. If a country can live at $3.77 trillion spending by receiving only 2.15 trillion revenue, it's totally wrong. So they need to keep a high standard, gold standard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe. Do you believe the CAFR, or the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, is a good tool to measure whether a governmental program is working or not?
You mean a comprehensive report? So I believe we should have dashboard financial policy, which means at a certain, like every other month or every quarters, we need to review all our spending, see if our spending meet the budget. You know, when I was in office as mayor, that's what we do. So we know whether we have a problem in spending, and we need to review, take out all the earmarks, and review every programs. So far, we have more than about 10,000 programs in our 682 departments. You know, we need to review all of those, and we might need to sunset most of those, and then scale back what's left. Then we can balance the budget, cut the spending off.
Sure, may I follow up with that, just as part of this question?
Sure.
So I believe, Joe, unless I misunderstood, that the term comprehensive annual financial report is a specific name for a report that governmental agencies at the local level, on up to county and I believe state, are required to file
Yes.
on an annual basis.
Yes, we do that too. Yeah.
Okay. I just
as
wanted to be sure that we're speaking about
As a
the same
city,
report.
it's just a guideline. But however, you have to have a better policy. It's a guideline, and then tell you what we have done. But we have to have something to follow up with what we have done, you know, by quarterly basis. So you cannot just rely on the financial report. That's personally I believe.
Well, let me add one more piece to that, and kind of where I was going with this is, let's take Social Security. Everybody calls it an entitlement, but it's found for the last few years that it's not working. If the financial statement says that it's not working, isn't that a time to make
Okay.
adjustments into the policy?
So if it's not working like what you just stated, honestly, you look at all the entitlement, whether the Social Security or Medicare, Medicaid, neither of them is working. So later on, I believe you will have more questions related to. But financial report, a lot of time is just for people to see, you know, and then a lot of underlying problems there, they may not can reveal by that report. That's what I'm trying to say. They just want to make it on the paper, make people look good. But if indeed we find a problem, we need to correct it.
Okay.
Thanks.
This is question 15. Should the Federal Reserve be abolished? And would doing so harm or balance our economy?
You know, maybe for most Tea Party groups, what I know is they want to take out Federal Reserve. And I did some study. Federal Reserve basically is the organization formed by all the member banks. And then what they try to do is establish the interest rate, so in order to stabilize the economy. And what I checked is just like Mr. Ray Hunt, Hunt Oil, was a former 2 years ago chairman for the organization. And I think Mr. Fisher still serves as president. And for this district, should be District 11. I can't remember exactly. But I look at it, you know, so far, at least when I deposit my money in the bank, I never lose a dime. And all the foreign countries, they still buy our treasury bond. And why? Because they think our monetary system is still the most stable than the other countries. So even though with all the oil purchase, they still pay the bill by US dollars. So I understand it may not be the best organization, you know, and you all think, but at least with its existence, we can still ensure we have a stable interest rate, and then our economy won't be affected deeply. So I think we do need to keep the Federal Reserve, just review, see how can we improve it, and not to be controlled or impacted by the president. Yeah.
So a follow-up,
Yeah.
would you advocate a detailed audit of the Federal Reserve?
I would think, you know, we need to review each program of the Federal Reserve by entirely abolishing the organization to improve what we expect them to do. The purpose for the Federal Reserve is to stabilize the economy. You know, that's my personal view. So I did spend some time studying. Yeah. Since I heard so much about it, everybody hate the Federal Reserve. That's why. You know, I mean, there must be some reason. Yeah.
Okay, so how did you answer my question then? Would you support a detailed audit of the Federal Reserve?
I will definitely do that.
Okay.
I will definitely do that and review everything, audit it, and see what else we can improve. You know, instead of just say, oh, the Federal Reserve is necessary. You know, and it's not controlled by the federal government. You know, personally speaking, because all the members from the member banks and most of the board directors, as a matter of fact, if you really go online, take a look, it's from prominent business owners, from various business owners. Yeah.
Okay, time.
All right, this will be question 16.
Okay.
Mr. Chow, what are your thoughts on the U.S. government's fiscal responsibility?
I think they are terrible. They can never balance the budget, and the budget should be balanced before September 30th last year. They extend to this year. Then they purposely, you know, they did it on purpose, trying to postpone that so it won't impact the election last year. It was totally wrong. You know, we need to use zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting. In my own business, when I budget my restaurant budget, we have to check every detail, single line item, how much it costs. Not use the baseline, you know, oh, whatever we have this year, so next year, oh, we just want to compare, you know, only more, never will be less. So that's a wrong approach. So, that's terrible. I tell you, we have to change it, and personally, and change from zero base to change it from the baseline to zero base, and then cut spending, review all the programs, and then cut off, including entitlement. Honestly, including military too. I want a strong military, but I always believe in the organization. You know, there must be somewhere we can cut. You know, but not impacting all men and women. You know, so I believe we need to review everything. Yes, sir.
Chair, this is question 17. What is the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, and how is it using $1.4 trillion in taxpayer money to pledge a bailout of the euro?
It's another thing is we should never done that. So IMF basically control the world money, and we have a lot of investment in Europe. You know, if I was not mistaken, there are about more than $16 trillion invested from the United States in Europe. So when the European economic crisis began from Greece, then Italy. Italy is the third largest country, and it's right next to France and Germany. And then you got Spain and Portugal. It was so wrong, and then they paid the money with a very high interest rate, and then paid like 60% of the debt services for $1 they borrowed. So even Greece, they pay like higher than that. How can they survive? They can't. Our government should never involve in other countries' deal, even though I understand it will impact our economy because we have $16 trillion investment in it. But we should never use our money to bail them out, neither them or to the company in the United States.
Thank you.
Can I add a little bit to that?
Sure.
Yes.
Mr. Chow, concerning with that situation with the IMF, are you aware, and what is your thought, with the added tentacle to the Federal Reserve that the central bank has, that the central bank is what runs the IMF in the global world?
I'm not aware central bank is running for IMF, and that's something I haven't heard.
Okay.
I thought it basically IMF is run by the bank in Europe, larger than our bank, even though they have a more reserve. Yes.
Well, I'll just add on a side note, it was Timothy Geithner who reported to the Joint Economic Committee that he made that promise
Is
in
that right?
there, not the government.
So every day I learn something.
And may I add one more thing? Are you aware of a third bank that was established in 1978 by the Congress called the Federal Financing Bank?
I'm not aware.
Let's stay on our
Stay
questions.
on our question.
Let's stay on our questions. I understand, but
Okay, number 18, Joe.
Yeah.
What is the Bank on International Settlement, BIS, and what authority does it hold?
Can you repeat BIS?
Yes, BIS. Okay, it's the Bank of International Settlement, is BIS. And what authority does it hold?
I'm not aware of that. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
we're moving to national sovereignty now. define public-private partnerships being implemented in this nation in 600 communities. Give examples.
So, public-private partnership, I am familiar with that. It mainly depends on how they're going to operate it. Originally, the public-private partnership, the purpose for that is the government getting involved in the project and then trying to help the private industry. Solyndra is one of those. They give loan guarantee. But I'm opposing that. It's totally wrong. But I remember when I was mayor, what we did is we built the road street. We encouraged the development to come in. So we make our property tax revenue back within 10 years. So it depends on how you do it. But the way Obama government did is totally wrong. They just give the money away, give a loan guarantee, and get involved in the business, pick and choose. It's just totally wrong. They just use your taxpayers' money, my money, and then waste it.
Okay.
So you should never get involved in that.
Thank you.
And question 20, taxpayer funds are being designated for radical environmentalism via the federal financing bank. What legislation would you author or purpose to stop, or propose, to stop this action?
Such as the EPA. I think we need to review everything EPA does. I think that's the one of the departments, I propose to eliminate, and I personally feel like, I think there's one questionnaire a while back, they talk about, limit to certain sizes of insects, will not be impact to all EPA regulations, and so forth. I personally believe is EPA should never be in the way of the economic growth. I believe, if without those unnecessary regulations, our economy will be better. I believe, government should never create jobs. Government basically set up the environment and with the fewer regulations to help our private sectors to grow.
Answer your question.
No.
You
Thank
want to do a quick follow-up? You got?
Well, I guess what I could do is further explain it to you a little bit more. Since you are aware of public-private partnerships, these monies are taken through the federal financing bank under the guise of a part called sustainable development. These are taxpayer monies that are put through the U.S. Treasury, come through the U.S. Treasury into this federal financing bank, and then it's implemented through the bills that sustainable development is part of, just like what they just passed. Part of the, what you said earlier about them not being able to have a full monies disclosure for the working of the government, but budget. But what they did was they parsed it down to different individual situations, and they just passed individual mandates to pay for agriculture, for HUD,
Okay,
and inside HUD was sustainable development for $7.6 million.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what would you do to propose or author a bill to get rid of the federal financing bank's availability to give out these monies to pay for these situations?
You know what? I will review it after I get into office, and then review it. If it's exactly as what you said, it's so wrong, we need to propose a bill just to revoke that. Yeah.
Okay.
I will
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, now, time out. I need another score sheet.
I just gave you one.
Yeah, I gave it to her.
You need two
There's
more.
one over there.
And I gave it
There's
to
one over there.
Well, does Shirley have another one?
Yes,
Yeah.
I just gave her mine.
Everybody's got one for me, but I've got one right here.
That means
these guys.
Yeah, I've got a printer, we'll print some more off.
Okay, Sherry, you're 21. Is it ready?
Yep, Sherry's turn.
Okay, number 21. What is Agenda 21?
I think we skipped a question, sure.
Oh, I did. Excuse me. Discuss your thoughts on smart meters.
You know what? Smart meter, when I was mayor, I was told, you know, the state and the county and the local city trying to promote this new meter, and then to replace all the old one. And we, as a mayor, at then, I think, you know, we listened to all the report about the smart meter, but we haven't implemented that yet. But today I came in and I learned a little more with Camille because she asked me to sign it. So I read it. You know,
That's my petition.
yeah, your petition.
I wrote
So
it
I
for smart
read it,
meter
I signed it,
form.
yeah. So we don't want the government to control us to do everything they want us to do. Yeah.
Okay,
John?
John is next.
This is question number 22. What is Agenda 21?
I learned the Agenda 21 about 4 months ago attending the Carrollton Tea Party, and I bought the book and read it. And basically talk about, you know, our association with the United Nations and toward social engineering. So then the main subject is sustainability. You know, that's this word. So they are against the how they call it sustainable development, such as high-rise parks, trail system, light rail. Put a lot of people live together in a very confined area. So, but the one thing I have to tell you is, when I was mayor, you know, instead of you ask me with the following question. When I was mayor, you know, all we look at is how to cutting costs for the city. So I did promote, you know, recycling. I did promote, you know, put a wind turbine on the newly built water tower. I promote use hybrid cars. I hope you are not going to categorize that as Agenda 21. Now, all we look at is cutting cost, you know, save taxpayers' money. Is that what all the Tea Party want us to do? Cut spending for the government and save taxpayers' money. That's all the intent. Yeah.
Why do you support or reject Agenda 21?
No, I'm against, you know, any social engineering. But if as small as Addison, you know, we don't have a large area for single-family housing. It's always nice. We have a 40 million square feet office space. During the day, we have 150,000 people, and yet we only have 15,000 people living in Addison. So all the people need to find a place to live. So we have to provide alternatives. So we give more housing choices. So by building like condos, apartments, so people can have more choices in selecting where they're going to live. You know. Do I answer your question? So that's the reason I wouldn't categorize that as Agenda 21, because we have nothing to do with social engineering. And you can ask 20 mayors, I can guarantee you, none of them know what's Agenda 21, which I did already. So now I want to make sure my colleagues understand what's Agenda 21.
Was Addison part of Bickley?
It is. You know, I believe about 3 years ago, all my council and approved that and passed that, so I signed it, you know, admitted. But all we care is how can we make our city a better city. It has nothing related to social engineering, you know, until we learn. I learned 4 months ago with Camille. Oh, this is Agenda 21, part of social engineering. But we had no intention, no prior knowledge about that social engineering. All we want to do is what I reiterate. We're trying to cut the cost, cut the spending. So that's the reason Edison is such a wonderful city with a 40% reserve. And one of the lowest, I even lowered the tax rate twice in 2006, 2007. Is that wonderful?
Okay, we went over time on that one.
All right, Joe.
And I would like to talk to you offline on that. It won't get scored.
Oh,
Because it's a big concern of mine. Go ahead.
Okay. Joe, this is question 23, and we're changing topic. We're going into personal responsibility now. What values will I be voting for if I vote for you?
You see, you can check my track record. My track record as a business owner, of my restaurant, insurance agent, and realtor, and with my financial discipline, and also my public service record. So I have a strong financial discipline, and I know how to balance a budget. I know how to cut spending. I'm a man of honor. I have my integrity, and I believe voting for me is going to be your best choice.
Okay, Mr. Chow, this is question 24. Do you know America has hundreds of years of readily available oil, and would you drill in all the places for it?
We talk about crude oil. I believe we need to get rid of all the EPA regulations and prevent us to have oil drilling domestically. So we need to explore all the possible exploration and oil drilling in our country, whether that's offshore or it's in Alaska or in Texas. I believe we don't have to rely on foreign oil so much, even though we have only 100 years reserve conservation. If that's the case, technology is improving. So anytime we may develop into new resource, and just like a long time ago, we don't have the shale gas since we didn't have the technology to detect it. Now, since we have the technology, we found out another 35% of the shale gas, SHALE shale gas. So it can bring up the shale gas to another 35 years plus original 65 years. So we need to explore all the possibility domestically. So we don't want to buy the oil from OPEC, part of the OPEC countries, or enemies.
Could I interject another question?
I think that's fine. I think we're good. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe, number 25. What is the worst problem facing America today? And then the next part of that, I'll just tell you now, and I will repeat it. And how do you plan to address it?
The problem today, our economy is in crisis, and then 9.1% of people do not have a job. But it's just a number, a percentage you think only 9.1%. But I tell you, if you add another 7.1% of the people do not have a job either because they are already not eligible to collect the employment. Plus probably 4% of people, small business owner and out of business. So you add all together, this country has 20% around unemployment rate. It's an awful situation. So we have to lower taxes. Historically, we've already proven John F. Kennedy lowered taxes for the first time in 1962, 1982, Ronald Reagan, 2002, George W. Bush. So we need to lower taxes very boldly. Then instead of setting up other taxing tools like fair tax or flat tax, just lower individual income tax now by 10% in each income tax bracket, it will work better. So people have more money to spend it, then boom the economy. So the American industries will hire people and face the high demand. So the money will immediately come back to our country. So we'll have more job. Yeah.
I'm not sure I understood. So what are you saying you think is the worst problem facing America today?
Economy.
Just the economy.
Economy.
Okay.
Economy is the worst.
To me, that's kind of a broad saying.
Okay, if you
what
want,
specifically in the economy is our problem?
yeah, it's a big problem. But if this is not the answer you're looking for,
Well, no, I think
That's
that's,
fine.
That's fine. That's fine.
Number 26, tell us your childhood, your teenage, and your college experience.
I thought that's a hard.
I'm sorry, that's hard.
That's a hard.
I'm sorry, honey. I thought you were tired. I'm sorry.
Deborah's age.
okay, what she said.
Repeat it.
Go ahead.
Tell us your childhood, teenage, and college experiences that formed your character. That's okay.
You want me to talk about myself or my teenagers?
Yourself.
Tell us
You when you were a teenager.
But I was a teenager.
your childhood, your teenage, and college experiences
Okay.
that formed your character.
All right. I was born and raised in Taiwan. Both my parents were Air Force officers. And my dad used to, both of them, and fought in World War II. My dad used to be a telegraph instructor for the communication academy. My mom used to be chief nurse in Chinese Air Force Base Hospital in Taiwan. I grew up in the Air Force Base, so I respect all the military people. I have a tremendous respect. And my mom worked so hard, already I mentioned, take care of my three sisters, and myself, guide us, teach us, educate us, and I have a lot of family value. I went to school, I was real good in math, and we have an examination from elementary school, 6th grade. Then you have to pass the examination to get to junior high. After junior high, you have to pass the examination to go to senior high. Then, all those many years, I have been top student in my class. So then I have to pass another examination to get to college. So I graduated from National Chongqing University with economics degree. I took 2 years military service in Army for Taiwan government. That's compulsory. So I was working for warfare department in the regime. So you have to take like I have 3 months, how they call it, boot camp, right? Train you physically. So I learned what's honor, what's integrity, what's duty. And then I came to United States for my MBA degree in Southeastern Oklahoma State. And as a matter of fact, 2 days ago was my birthday. And the president of the university came into my restaurant, wished me happy birthday, and said great remarks because I was invited as keynote speaker for spring commencement in May in front of 4,000 people, 500 graduates. I take a lot of personal pride because I have been the only Asian American mayor in the state of Texas, and I have to work a lot harder to get it. And a lot of people told me, a lot of people told me before, Joe, you had no chance. But I always have believed this is a great country, great nation. If you're willing to work, you learn. I may not know everything you asked me today, but I will learn. I will get there quickly. I'll be there. Thank you.
Now, what are your top 3 priorities in your life?
My 3 priorities.
Top priorities.
Top priority. I always ask myself what I want to be. When I was little, I believe each one of you will think, oh, what I'm going to be, what I want to do, what's my profession. But whatever you choose, you do, you have to remember, you have to work hard, working ethics, and a higher moral standards, personal responsibility. So even though when I started to build my restaurant, back to 1986, for 6 months I didn't have a job, but I would cook myself for my family and still save every penny I can for my business. You need people. When I work, I save half of what I earn. I have those kind of discipline. I do not need to show off, and waste my money. I don't. So that's kind of me. Yeah.
In God we trust is the last category.
Yeah, it's on every point. Yeah.
Are you different in your business life than in your personal life?
I'm always the same person, whether I'm in my personal life, or my business life, or my public service life. I'm always the same person. Before, during, after I was in office, I'm always the same person. I pay respect to the people, and my philosophy is give more than take. Lose means win. I have those philosophy. Give more than you take, and then lose means you win. So I always encourage people. So now I have been a speaker to a lot of leadership class. I always tell them, if one day you figure that out and you know how to carry out that, you will be a better person.
Can I follow up on that? What do you mean, lose, you win? I don't understand.
You see, you give more than you take.
Right.
A lot of time, people are taking you in a way, seem like they win and you are a loser. But in a way, you have your heart, forgive them, then you do whatever you should do instead of retaliate back, so you just be yourself, learn how to forgive. Then that's my philosophy. So even though at the time you think you lose, but actually you win, you are a better person, and the people will know that. So.
This is question 29.
And the last question.
Oh, so fast.
Lying is prevalent in comedy. Is that something you think needs to be done sometimes or not? And why?
You mean lying?
Lying, not telling the truth.
That's a terrible problem, and a lot of people said, that's just a good lie. I tell you, there's no good lie, no bad lie either. Lie is wrong. If I do not understand, I do not know, I can tell you I'm not aware of it. I don't have to find excuses for that. I think government should never lie to the people. By same token, I think all the congressmen should never lie because they represent each one of us. Should never lie. If they cannot achieve that, accomplish that, they have to tell you the truth, the fact. A lot of time it takes some education, educate the public, but you can never lie. If you made a mistake, just admit it. I made a mistake, I admit it. We're just one person. We are no difference from others. So I think I think they should be penalized.
Okay, so when say a congressman tells his constituents that he's going to vote a certain way, and he doesn't vote that way, is that considered lying to the constituents?
It's lying. Definitely. I think, you can penalize them by not voting for them. If as strong as Tea Party, you need to go out, tell people he's lying, get him out of the office.
I have a follow-up question also, Joe, on this subject. Are there degrees of lying, such as lies of omission or white lies? And if so, are some acceptable and some not? Or if there are degrees of lying, are none acceptable?
So that's what I earlier mentioned. There's no good lie or bad lie. There's no degrees of lying. If you cannot do it, just say you cannot do it. You made a mistake, you committed, you made a mistake. If you give honest answer, people will appreciate you. They understand, you made a mistake. You say, oh, I should vote this way, then I vote that way. You're wrong, right? So publicly you have to admit it, that I made a mistake. I should abide by what my constituents ask me to do. So my philosophy is, in the future, I will do more town hall meeting. After I get elected, I will do more direct mails with simple message on it. Just 2-3 answers. I don't ask for a payment contribution on the back. Like most of the time I throw it away because too many questions. Also, fully utilize the internet, social media to reach out to people. You can get a polls from them, and so you represent most of them. And then that's the way you should vote. Vote with your conscience. Vote with what's the fact.